You can't sleep. Every song is suddenly about them. You catch yourself replaying conversations like they hold some hidden code. You check your phone more times than you'd ever admit. And somewhere deep inside, you're absolutely certain the universe placed this person in your path for a reason. Maybe you've felt it, that magnetic pull so strong it borders on painful. The way their name lights up your screen and your heart rate spikes. How everything reminds you of them. The strange coincidences that feel like cosmic confirmation. Here's what nobody tells you: what if the very intensity you're calling destiny is your psyche, trying to tell you something completely different? Pause with me for a moment. I'm not here to crush your hope or tell you to give up on love. I'm here to give you something far more valuable: the ability to see clearly. Because the difference between obsession and real connection, between a wound seeking familiarity and a soul meeting its match, determines whether you spend the next months, years, or decades building something beautiful or chasing a ghost. Almost everyone has been here. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m., analyzing every text, every glance, every moment of contact, trying to decode what it all means. You've convinced yourself this person is different. This time, it's real. This intensity must mean something. And you're right, it does mean something. Just not what you think. In the next 50 minutes, we're going to explore one of the most profound insights from depth psychology. We're going to use the wisdom that transformed how we understand love projection and human connection. We're going to look at what it really means when someone feels fated, and how to tell the difference between a person who's meant for you and a mirror reflecting your unhealed parts. The work of Carl Jung, empath and personal development, has shown us this. We don't fall in love with a person first. We fall in love with our projection, the disowned parts of ourselves that suddenly light up on someone else's face. There are people who are meant for you, but not in the fairy tale way. Not in the "you complete me" way. In a much deeper, more honest, more transformational way. The kind of connection that doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. The kind that steadies your nervous system instead of hijacking it. The kind that invites your wholeness instead of demanding your performance. By the end of this journey, you'll have a reliable inner compass. Not theories, not wishful thinking. An actual felt sense in your body that tells you truth from fantasy, wound from wisdom, projection from recognition. But first, we need to understand why your heart has been lying to you. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth, the one that might make you want to stop watching. We don't actually fall in love with a person first. We fall in love with our projection. What does that mean? It means the confidence you see in them is the confidence you buried in yourself. The freedom they embody is the freedom you denied yourself. The passion they radiate is the passion you learned to suppress. Everything that makes them irresistible is actually a disowned part of you suddenly visible, and your psyche is screaming that I need that. This is why obsession can feel exactly like destiny. Your unconscious mind is trying to reclaim something it lost or never developed. It's not falling in love. It's recognizing yourself in exile. Think about the person consuming your thoughts right now. What qualities pull you toward them? Write them down mentally. Confident, creative, free-spirited, emotionally unavailable, mysterious, successful, wild. Now ask yourself, which of these did you have to kill in yourself to be accepted? Which did you never learn to express? Which were punished out of you in childhood? The attraction isn't random. You're magnetized to what you've buried. This is the foundation of shadow work in depth psychology. Everything you've suppressed, denied, or never learned to express doesn't disappear, it lives in your unconscious, and it gets projected onto others. Sometimes it's the positive shadow, the parts of yourself that are actually strengths, but you were taught to hide them. The boldness you called arrogance, the sensitivity you called weakness, the ambition you called selfishness. When you meet someone who freely expresses what you've locked away, the attraction is instant and overwhelming. Not because they're your soulmate, but because they're holding a mirror to your unlived life. This is why opposites attract, why you keep choosing the same type of person in different bodies, why the intensity feels cosmic. You're not meeting them, you're meeting yourself. And here's the truth that changes everything. This doesn't mean the person is wrong for you. It means you have inner work to do while you explore the connection. It means the intensity is information, not instruction. When two people have met their shadow and made peace with their unintegrated parts, projection thins. What remains is real connection, seeing the actual person, not the repository of your unlived life. But until then, intensity is often a disguised wound. Let me show you what that looks like. Unhealed wounds don't seek healthy dynamics, they seek familiar ones. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between passion and anxiety. It just knows activation. So if your childhood was chaotic, distant, or unpredictable, your body learned to associate love with tension. Calm feels boring. Unavailability feels like a challenge. Inconsistency feels like electricity. This is the trauma bond disguised as chemistry. You're not attracted to who they are. You're attracted to how they make you feel. And what they make you feel is the familiar ache of trying to earn love from someone who withholds it. The hot and cold, the mixed signals, the breadcrumbs of attention followed by silence. The feeling that if you just say the right thing, do the right thing, become the right thing, they'll finally see you. Does this sound like destiny? Or does it sound like the first relationship you ever had, the one with a parent who loved you, but couldn't consistently show up? If you've been drawn to people who hurt you, you're not broken. You're not cursed. You're following an unconscious map written in childhood, trying to resolve an old wound through a new person. And it will never work, because they're not the author of your pain. They're just cast in a familiar role. The good news: once you see the map, you can choose a different route. So how do you tell the difference between destiny and delusion, between a person who's actually meant for you and a projection screen for your unintegrated self? Let's go deeper. Your body knows what your mind tries to rationalize away. This is the first and most reliable sign. After you see them, talk to them. Text them what happens in your nervous system. Do you feel a quiet, underlying calm, even when there's uncertainty? Or are you constantly keyed up, checking your phone every 30 seconds, replaying every word they said, spiraling into anxiety about what it all means? Real connection steadies you. It doesn't mean you never feel nervous or excited, but there's a baseline of peace underneath. You can focus on your work, your friends, your life. Their presence adds to your stability rather than destabilizing you entirely. Trauma bonds do the opposite. They create an addiction cycle, anxiety spike when you're apart, relief only through contact, then a crash after interaction when the uncertainty returns. Your nervous system oscillates between desperation and temporary soothing. It feels intense, alive, meaningful. But it's not love. It's your body mistaking anxiety for passion, because that's what it learned early. Take 30 seconds right now. Close your eyes if you're somewhere safe to do so. Think about this person. Notice what happens in your body. Does your chest tighten or open? Does your breathing get shallow or deepen? Do you feel a clench of anxiety or a wave of warmth? Your body is giving you information your fantasy edits out. Here's the second sign, and it's the most painful one to admit. Do you shrink yourself to keep them? Do you over-explain, perform, ignore your needs, accept breadcrumbs and call it a feast? Self-abandonment is not love. It's a survival strategy you learned when you believed love required your disappearance. Watch what you do in their presence. Do you edit your words, hide your opinions, perform a version of yourself you think they'll like better? Do you silence your needs because asking feels like risking rejection? Do you accept treatment you'd never tolerate from a friend because you're terrified of losing them? This is the part where Carl Jung empath and personal development becomes deeply personal. The work of individuation means becoming whole, integrated fully yourself. True love supports that becoming. It doesn't ask you to betray yourself. It meets you where you have dignity, and it doesn't waver when you set boundaries or speak your truth. If you're losing yourself, you're not finding your person. You're repeating your wound. Fateful love never requires self-erasure. It sees you fully and says yes to that fullness. Anything less is a relationship built on a mask, and masks suffocate. The third sign is reciprocity, but we need to redefine what that means. It's not about keeping score or demanding perfect equality. It's about consistent care flowing in both directions. Does this person show up for you the way you show up for them? Not just in the intense moments, but in the ordinary ones. Do they make effort, or do you do all the reaching? Is there repair after conflict, or do ruptures just accumulate? Here's the pattern that masquerades as destiny intermittent reinforcement. Attention followed by withdrawal. Warmth followed by distance. Intensity followed by ambiguity. This creates the most powerful form of psychological addiction because your brain gets hooked on the variable reward schedule. You never know when the next hit of attention is coming, so you stay vigilant, hopeful, constantly trying. It feels like passion. It's actually a slot machine. Real reciprocity is consistent. It doesn't play games with your nervous system. It doesn't keep you guessing about where you stand. Destiny doesn't breadcrumb you. It shows up clearly and repeatedly without you having to beg for scraps. Ask yourself this question and answer it with brutal honesty. If you removed all hope and potential, if you stopped making excuses for their inconsistency, would you accept how they show up today, right now, as is? If the answer is no, you're not in love with them. You're in love with who you hope they'll become. And that's a long, painful road that leads nowhere. The fourth sign is about growth. Are you becoming more yourself or less? Are you expanding into authenticity, creativity, courage, or are you contracting into performance anxiety and old patterns? Fateful love challenges you to individuate, to become more fully who you are. It doesn't let you stay comfortable in old defenses or victim stories, but it also doesn't ask you to shrink. It creates a space where you can grow into your edges, where honesty is rewarded and vulnerability is met with respect. If you're becoming more performative, more anxious, smaller in your self-expression, that's not love evolving you. That's a dynamic trapping you in a role you learned in childhood. Maybe the role of the pleaser, the caretaker, the one who earns love through sacrifice, the one who stays small so others can feel big. Notice what happens to your creativity, your friendships, your sense of self when you're with this person or thinking about them. Does your world expand or contract? Do you feel more alive in your own life, or do you feel like your life is on hold, waiting for them to validate you? Think of it this way. A greenhouse and a cage are both structures, both enclosed spaces, but one is designed for growth and one is designed for containment. Same architecture, opposite function. Which one are you in? And now the ultimate test, the fifth sign that separates real connection from counterfeit shadow safety. Can you bring your darkness and still be held? Can you be messy, contradictory, difficult human, and still be met with respect? Or do you have to hide the parts of yourself that aren't shiny and acceptable? Real love helps you integrate your shadow. It creates safety for you to be whole. The light and the dark, the strength and the fear, the clarity and the confusion. It doesn't demand perfection or performance. It doesn't punish you for being human. Counterfeit love demands the mask. Only the good parts are welcome. Any sign of your real struggle, your real pain, your real complexity gets met with withdrawal, judgment, or abandonment. So you learn to split yourself, show them only what's acceptable, hide everything else. But here's what happens when you live like that: you fragment. You lose access to your wholeness. You become a performer in your own life, never quite sure which version of you is real. If you can't be your full self, difficult days, uncertain moments, shadow integration, and all you're not in love. You're in performance, and performance is exhausting. The person meant for you doesn't require your perfection. They're doing their own work, meeting their own shadow, and they have the capacity to hold yours without making it about them. That's the difference. That's what makes love transformational instead of transactional. Let's talk about the synchronicities, because I know you've been waiting for this. The strange timings, the meaningful coincidences, the feeling that the universe conspired to bring you together. Yes, they happen. Yes, they're real. And no, they're not promises. Meaningful coincidences reveal psychic readiness, a moment when your unconscious is primed for something new, when an encounter can catalyze growth. But catalyzing growth and staying forever are not the same thing. Some people are messages, not marriages. They enter your life to wake something up in you, to show you what you've been avoiding or denying, to break open a pattern that needed breaking. And then they leave. Not because the connection wasn't real, but because its function was complete. That's not failure. That's design. Not every meaningful encounter is meant to last forever. Some people teach you what you need to learn, reflect back what you need to see, and then bow out so you can integrate the lesson and move forward. Trying to force them to stay is like trying to keep training wheels on when you've learned to balance. The mature question isn't, did the universe send them toward? It's, what is this connection here to teach me? So here's your inner compass, the practice that cuts through confusion and accesses truth. You can do this right now or anytime you're caught in the spiral of overthinking. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. Let your nervous system settle. Now ask yourself these questions and notice the very first answer that arises. Who am I in their presence? Freer or trapped? Truer or performative? Quietly peaceful or perpetually on edge? Don't think your way to an answer. Feel your way to it. Your body knows what your mind rationalizes away. If your inner peace depends on their attention, that isn't destiny. It's dependency. And here's where everything shifts. Here's where the real work begins. Reparenting your wounded heart. Learning to give yourself what you've been desperately seeking in another person. What does reparenting look like? It means honoring your own needs instead of outsourcing your worth to someone else's validation. It means setting clean boundaries even when you're terrified of losing them. It means validating your own emotions instead of waiting for them to tell you your feelings are legitimate. This is the core of Carl Jung empath and personal development. When you begin to reparent yourself, when you reclaim the disowned parts and integrate your shadow, love stops arriving as rescue and starts arriving as recognition. It doesn't come to complete you. It comes because you are already becoming whole. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing someone to save you, you finally become available for real partnership. So what's one need you've been outsourcing to this person? Maybe it's validation. Maybe it's excitement. Maybe it's the feeling that you matter. Whatever it is, notice it. And then ask, how can I give this to myself? What's one boundary you've been afraid to set because you fear it will push them away? Name it. And then ask, what does it cost me to not honor this boundary? The right person doesn't leave when you set boundaries. They respect them. And if setting a boundary makes them leave, they were never your person. They were your wound. I know what you're thinking right now because I've heard it 1,000 times. What if I'm overthinking? What if they really are the one, and I'm sabotaging it with all this analysis? Listen carefully. The right person doesn't make you question your sanity or your worth. If the connection is real, slowing down will reveal that. If it's not, clarity is the gift. You're not overthinking. You're finally thinking clearly after months or years of fantasy. But what if I've already invested so much time? What about everything I've put into this? This is the sunk cost fallacy. The time you've already spent is gone. You can't get it back by staying longer. Every day forward is a choice, not a debt to the past. Honor your future self more than your past investment. What if I never feel this intensity again? Here's the truth they don't tell you. Intensity is not the same as depth. The most intense relationships are often the most unstable. Real love might feel quieter, steadier, less like a drug. And that's exactly why it's sustainable. How long should I wait to know if this is going somewhere? If you're waiting for them to change, you already know. If you're waiting for them to choose you, you already know. Fateful love reveals itself through consistent action, not potential. You don't have to wait years for someone to show you who they are. They're showing you right now. What if I'm the problem? What if I'm too damaged for real? Love, trauma is not a life sentence. Awareness begins healing. The fact that you're here doing this work, asking these questions, that's the evidence you're not too broken. You're breaking open. And that's where transformation happens. You deserve love that doesn't require you to be perfect first. So here we are, the decision point, the moment of truth. Ask yourself these 2 questions, and let the answers come from your body, not your hope. Does this connection stabilize my soul and invite my truth? Or does it agitate my nervous system and ask me to disappear? The first is fateful. The second is a wound asking to be healed. And here's what most people don't understand. You can honor what this person awakened in you and still choose to walk away. You can be grateful for the mirror they held up and still decide the relationship isn't serving your growth. Sometimes loving someone means releasing them not with bitterness, but with clarity. You are not a victim of destiny. You are its author. The identity shift happens right here. It's the moment you stop asking, "Am I enough for them?" and start asking, "Does this honor who I'm becoming?" Everything changes when you stop proving and start discerning, when you stop performing and start choosing, when you're no longer afraid of losing them because you refuse to lose yourself. This is what individuation looks like in love. You see people clearly, not through the fog of projection, not through the desperation of your wounds. You see them as they are, and you see yourself as you are, and from that clarity you choose. Choose the path that lets you remain fully yourself. That is where destiny meets you. Imagine this, a relationship where shadow safety is the foundation, where reciprocity is consistent, where growth happens for both people, not just one, where you don't shrink to fit, you expand into your truth, and you're celebrated for it. That's not fantasy. That's what becomes possible when you do this work. When you integrate your projections, heal your wounds, and refuse to abandon yourself for the illusion of connection. The person who kept you awake at night, who consumed your thoughts, who felt like destiny, they were never your answer. They were your mirror, and the gift they gave you was this: they showed you which parts of yourself need reclaiming. The confidence, the freedom, the wholeness, all of it is already yours. You just projected it onto them because you forgot it lived in you. Your work now is not to chase them. Your work is to become the person you projected onto them. And here's what happens when you do that. When two people have done this work, when both have met their shadow and integrated their projections and learned to love themselves, what emerges is extraordinary. Not perfect, not without challenge, but real, grounded, transformational. That's the promise of Jungian love. Not rescue, not completion, recognition. You are ready. You've always been ready. All you have to do now is choose yourself. Destiny will meet you there.